When the police rise, the pledge remains standing for the prayer. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this beautiful day you created, and just thank you for each and every individual in this room and in this community right now. We're so blessed, the folks in here and the families that they're in here and the families they represent. Just ask you to watch over them and bless them and guide them and strengthen them. And we thank you for them. Our greatest resource in this community will always be the people you've blessed us with. And we thank you for that. And we pray for your guidance and for your wisdom tonight and to help us make decisions that reflect your heart for this community. In Jesus' mighty name we pray. Amen. All right. We are fortunate to have a swearing in.
He's around here.
Where's he at?
Sitting over there.
Oh, there you are. Someone else up there. I'm so sorry.
Do not need the gavel.
Come on.
Yeah. You doing all right?
I'm doing good. Yourself?
Awesome. Doing well. If you wouldn't mind, I will have you raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Indiana,
the Constitution of the State of Indiana,
and the ordinances of the City of Union City, Indiana,
and the ordinances of the City of Union City, Indiana,
and I will faithfully
and I will faithfully
and impartially
and partially
discharge the duties of my office
discharge the duties of my office
as full-time police officer
as full-time police officer
of the City of Union City, Indiana,
of the City of Union City, Indiana.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Know all men and women, I don't like the way this is phrased, by these presents that I, K.I.S.S, Spence, Mayor of Union City, Indiana, by virtue of the power vested in me by the State of Indiana and the City of Union City, Indiana, do hereby appoint Andrew M. Hernandez to the position of full-time police officer for the City of Union City, Indiana. Congratulations. We're going to get it signed, and you get to keep the nice copy. Okay. Yeah, Amy, you have to sign as well. This is your first one. Yes, that's the copy you get to keep. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. Awesome. All right. I don't know how many of you are here for him. Maybe the whole lot, I don't know. You're all certainly welcome to stay for the meeting, but you're not obligated to, obviously, so I'll leave that to you guys. But it's great to have you here, for sure. Okay, if you would, Amy, if you would do roll call.
Brandon Elmore,
Present.
Bob Leahy,
Here.
Jason Brewer,
Here.
Tim Heiss,
Here.
Peter Pereira.
Here.
All right, I trust we had an opportunity to review the consent agenda. Do you have any questions or comments? I tell you what, that's support for him. That's awesome.
That's the legacy of Vincent or not.
That's so cool. That is awesome. And it's his music mix we still play every Friday. It's his playlist every Friday. That's his playlist in downtown. Eric.
You're in.
Bob's
Okay, Bob's waiting.
Get in the door.
I'm just waiting for a seat.
That's special though. That's family. That's awesome. Okay, sorry, back to the consent agenda. Do you have any questions or comments? If not, I would entertain a motion for approval.
I'll move that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
We have first, we have a second?
I'll second.
I think it was Jason by here. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. consent agenda approved. Who was the first? Bob, right?
Yes.
Bob first, sorry. We have no presenter. Yeah, Kyra's not here. Department reports. Reminder to everyone, Halloween, obviously, festivities are this Saturday. And so we've got update on the signage on the corner, and just hopeful that Mother Nature cooperates, but looking forward to it. It's a good day planned as usual. It's amazing it's this Saturday already. Community Christmas, that also this Saturday. The morning of this Saturday, October 28th, at Harder Park at 9 a.m. There'll be a community work day out at the park. We can meet at what we call the Community Christmas Barn, which is the barn on the far west end of the park, near where the soccer fields are at. From 9 to noon, but everybody's welcome to stay as long as they want. But there'll be we'll be working out there. Actually, we've been out there since August, but there's a lot more for folks to do now that we're not mowing anymore. So Community Christmas Work Day this Saturday, and there will also be one the following Saturday as well, same time frame, 9 to noon. Department, Eric, is anything, or Mark, anything you guys wanted to?
Just want to remind you guys, we had our Public Safety Utilities Academy this last week with students from both Muscatawal and Union City. There's about 8 students that graduated from that. They had an opportunity to spend a day in fire, EMS, police, city, water, sewer. Hopefully we can get some interest in the trades and get some active people moving forward. That went really well for the first year, so we was really happy about that.
Good.
And police and fire and emergency services will be out all evening for trick or treat and trunk or treat, providing safety and security for the citizens that are out and about and participate in all the activities. So just know we'll be out there for them.
Awesome. That's great. That's great. Lance, Mark, anything you guys want to cover?
Put a face with a name. This is Detective Eric Haynes.
Hi, nice to meet you
Nice to meet
guys.
you.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Officially.
Welcome.
Welcome.
I think that shirt had a good day yesterday, didn't it?
It did. And I appreciate you pointing that out. There haven't been many good days. It's been a rough season so far.
Trust me, I'm a Reds fan. I know all about rough days.
Yes.
All right. Amy, anything?
Not unless something comes up. We did finally get information on the payoff for the truck,
Okay.
but that's as far as it got. They're supposed to be meeting, they said early this week, so hopefully we'll get some idea when that other truck can go.
Okay.
But-
And just for clarity, that's the 2019 that
Rosenbauer.
yeah,
Yeah,
that
he
we
told
are
me
selling. Yeah.
He's got somebody lined up, come and get it in a couple of days after we can get him the title.
Okay.
That's all we're waiting on.
Okay.
That's what we're waiting on, too.
Okay. Donnie, may you called anybody, or are we just waiting on Laura, or is Laura waiting on something on us?
I think it's an internal thing with them.
Okay.
I don't think we're needing to do anything
Okay.
else.
I've been trying to keep up with the emails because it's been a barrage. So. Okay. Council members. Brandon, let's start with you.
I don't have anything this evening.
Bob.
The only thing I have is there's no area planning commission meeting for this month, and no petitions filed for next month before the deadline, so there'll be no meeting next month, and they don't meet in December for the holidays,
So you're done till 24.
we're done until 2024.
Wow. Okay.
So
All right.
That's
Well,
all.
thanks for the heads up.
all I've got.
No, that's all right. Jason.
I do not.
Tim.
I don't have anything.
Tito.
Well, am I the only one that has some? Sometimes they're hard issues, and so I like to. I promised I would ask the hard questions that some of our citizens have, and this one's about the police, whom we love and we thank for all they do to protect us. But I'm told that this past Saturday after midnight, there was a large sort of a conglomeration of people, maybe something like 30 people, having a violent encounter near downtown, that some people got hurt. that one of the individuals, and that they were armed with, some of them with tasers and bats, that one of them had an altercation with one of our police officers who went there, was put in cuffs but then let go. And so, question is, do we have a plan? Is this true, first of all, because this is like a citizen asked, coming to me, right? I'm not a police officer. Is this true? What are we doing to sort of, hopefully there was more than, why did only one police officer show up? Why was no one arrested when clearly, there was some violence apparently and people getting hurt and stuff like that? That's all I had.
Somebody had a bat? A police officer had a bat?
No.
Oh.
The people.
Okay, good lord. And
That's bad enough, though.
yeah. I'm trying to follow on. Do we
It's
have
my
a?
understanding there was an incident, I think it was Saturday night, with multiple people. The thing we run into most times, I don't know that, I think 30 might be an exaggeration of what took place. The thing we have a lot of problem with is, one, having witnesses willing to step forward, and two, if someone doesn't want to be a victim, we can't necessarily make them a victim of a crime either. So the incident you're talking about specifically, the individual, we'll call him a suspect of the case, is on probation in Dark County, and that was addressed this morning. That's not usually an easy process where they have to kind of pull the trigger to violate the probation. Most of the time, they have to pull the trigger to violate his probation. So because of the incident that took place, there was no victim that actually stepped forward wanting charges pressed. There was a lot of uncooperative witnesses, I'll use that lightly, but so we didn't have a charge for someone. So, but we did address it this morning. His behavior was addressed with probation, and they're going to deal with that.
Thank you. Thank you for that information. Did our police officer did someone act violently towards our police officer in a way that would merit an arrest? No. Okay.
Excuse me.
Do we have more than one police officer that might have been available for something like
There
that?
was an Ohio officer and an Indiana officer both present for the
Okay.
call.
Right.
So I
That's all.
think 30 people might be a slight exaggeration of how many people were involved.
Okay.
But there was absolutely an incident.
Thank you for that clarification.
No, I appreciate that. Anything else?
That's all I have.
Okay. Steve,
I'm
waiting.
apologizing now because I'm gonna hit y'all with a bunch that is not on the agenda because I didn't get it until this morning. So first, y'all should have a packet. Looks like this: preliminary drainage study, Parkview neighborhood, Union City. And then there's a secondary, what looks like a email chain that's got some additional information because they identified a mathematical error in the pretty copy. So that prompted me being in an email chain for a little bit. Long story short on this, you guys approved HWC Engineering to come in and do a survey and a drainage study for the Parkview neighborhood, which has had flooding issues over the years. Primarily the one on Monroe, I believe, has kind of taken care of itself with some earthwork, but the one on Sunset, if you guys go out there and take a look, the roads are higher than the grass, and those houses, especially in the middle of Sunset Avenue, basically are setting in a bowl. Their proposal is outlined in there. I urge each and every one of you to kind of review it. And again, I'm not asking for anything today, but we need to make a decision. We have a boatload of projects kind of starting to stack up in line and in order, but here's another, depending on which way the council chooses to go, here's another $500,000 to $800,000 project that's going to need to be addressed to relieve stormwater from flooding Sunset Avenue. There's a few different options. We can do more work. We can, the entry level's little under $600,000 to do the bare minimum. So I urge you guys to take a look at that and give me your thoughts. Let me know what you're thinking. We'll revisit it again in November and see how you want to proceed. I'm sure we can get grant funding. I'm sure we can do good things, but again, we're sitting on millions of dollars worth of projects that we're trying to get funded and trying to work on, so I don't know where this is going to fall in a priority list, but we have had specific questions and complaints, so I would urge everybody to not completely put it on the back burner.
Right.
Anybody have questions on this before we go to the next?
Right now.
Yes, sir.
I think not to diminish at all the importance of something like this, right, for our residents of Union City. When we decide on this, it's going to be a matter of deciding what priority, and what can we do to sort of, how will we prioritize? That's the key question. But just recalling at the beginning of this administration, one of the issues, and I don't recall, so I apologize in advance, if it was resolved or not, but there were a number, at least a handful, of residents of Division Street, specifically on the corner of Division and High Street, that all had problems with water seeping into their basements. Did we resolve that? Did we do something for them?
We have done work. We have put in backflow preventers for a lot of those residents. Is it completely resolved? No. We are working and awaiting a proposal right now to section that area of our collection system out and do a point-specific study on just what exactly might be the exact problem. We believe that some connections have been closed off due to sewer and storm sewer work and linings that have been put into place over the many years. That is a constant struggle, but we're still kind of doing some data collection to work on resolving the issue. But no, that has not been resolved, and it is still something that we're looking at. Rob has made contact with a company to come in and basically isolate that section of our collection system and do some very direct evaluation and monitoring of the collection system over a period of 90 to 120 days to see exactly what is ebbing and flowing underneath our streets and in the infrastructure in that specific area. That's probably going to be, I'm going to say $30,000 to $50,000 for that study.
For the study itself?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you for the.
With that, what you just asked about, I guess I wasn't fully aware of that situation, but I'm assuming you're asking that in relation to where it fits in terms of priorities.
Well, yeah, this is a new
situation is a higher priority than this situation at Parkview, or how it would fit.
Absolutely, and just to be clear, we're spinning the plate on 100 projects a day.
Yeah.
That are all of high importance to our workforce and to the city. And we're not, not doing things on certain areas or certain projects. But these projects keep coming across the desk, and we have to do the PER. We have to create the engineering study. We have to do the data process to know exactly what the right repair is. So the issue. Bob, help me out here, because you're kind of at the east end of that. It's like from Plum Street out Division Street to maybe High Street-ish area.
Yeah, we're no longer having that problem
Yeah, but you've got a backflow preventer, and
Have a new lateral put in and.
so basically it's the storm or the sewage system backing up into some basements and some things like that.
Have you heard from Dick and Linda lately? Do you know if they've had issues still?
No, I don't think they have.
Okay.
Not any, if they had a problem, it was not caused by the backup.
Okay.
We were getting sewage backup. We've got a backflow preventer in now and a clean out.
Oh, thank goodness.
Cost a couple bucks, but boy, was it worth it.
Yeah,
And-
yeah.
And the city gave us the backflow preventer, which I thought was fine.
And then
So it's
there's
further west
storm.
than the street then?
Well, and we have an issue with the manhole just before you get to the school on North Walnut Street.
Okay.
Under certain conditions, it'll actually come up out of the roadway because of the amount of water flowing through there. But again, we don't know, because we don't do the work for those lining projects. We don't know if something has been cut off that we can't identify. So, you know, we believe that to be the primary cause of it, but we haven't completely identified. So that's what Rob has proposed for the last couple of years to do, is to find a company that can, you know, very methodically section out a part of our collection system, drop monitoring devices in each opening and multiple places within the line to monitor exactly what's going on. So there's got to be something limiting the water from getting away. And it only happens when we get that sudden
Torrential rain.
torrential downpour and everything's already wet, and it
Which we've not had for the last 4
and
months.
we've not had that, so it's not, you know, nobody's screaming, but we know that it hasn't gone away. We just got to get, ideally what Rob's proposing is probably March. The council have this passed and approved, and we're in this study, and March, April, May, and maybe June, depending on the rainfall amounts, we're monitoring what that section of our collection system is doing. And hopefully that gives us the direction to travel to fix the problem once and for all.
I'll add to that a little bit. To be fair, we've been actively working to remedy that problem for quite a long time. Matter of fact, I go back to 2008 when I first became a councilman. Almost within days, we had a storm event, and I got a call at 1 o'clock in the morning to that neighborhood. And we've done a lot of things. One of the problems is that the problems haven't always been that neighborhood. All the water,
Right.
that's kind of a basin, and all the water has flowed into that. So
Correct.
we've eliminated a lot of problems. Now we're getting down to the problems that may exist there, but we identified and we remedied quite a bit of I&I inflow from other areas, so it's nothing like it was, I don't think.
No, nothing.
But there's still a problem. But
We were gonna put a diving board in our
yeah,
basement.
and so it's not been like nothing's ever been done on it at all. But
Anything else on that topic? Okay. Community crossings. Had the pre-con meeting today. Hopefully by November 13th, the balance of the sidewalk on Oak Street between Backstay Lofts and North Plum Street is being torn out and replaced. And then that one block section of West Oak Street will be milled and paved once the sidewalks are in. I think there's 8 ADA ramps being placed in that section of sidewalk on both sides of the street. So that project will start. DC Concrete will be here in town to start that very, very soon. And that'll be our second round funding for community crossings. You guys all were notified that the city has been served litigation on an injury uptown. I've been working with BCA Engineering, who was our engineering firm for the blight clearance project. We are going to push that lawsuit back on Door in their performance bond for not effectively removing all hazards before they vacated. That was a property that they identified was good to go, and for some reason that expanded wire mesh popped up out of the ground somehow, and it's since been removed or made safe. I think there's still more work to be done, but we're going to have BCA come in and take a look at it and advise us on how they want to proceed, because I don't even really have an understanding as to what that wire mesh even is, because it looks like it's actually poured into the sidewalk, and I don't have an understanding as to why they would have done that at all, not with that material. But that is probably going to work back towards Door and the overarching litigation and their performance bond that we'll be accessing here hopefully very soon. So that's being addressed. Received this. You guys should have a copy of this notice from Public Safety Director Ader. About a year ago, next month, you guys made a decision to move forward with Enterprise on replacing one of the 2015 Ford Explorers that had a blown engine. We graciously accepted what your recommendation was. That vehicle is now in service, but unfortunately now we have the second 2015 that we've been babying along, now has no transmission. That is also our K9 car, so effectively we have a expensive resource that we're not even able to work and to put on the street because he's got to have a car to work out of. So Mark has found, and just to be clear, we're not suggesting abandoning Enterprise in that conversation, but Enterprise does not have access to any cars at the moment. Mark had a conversation with another dealership. I think they're down by Louisville.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Southern Indiana.
Yeah. So I think it's John Jones or something. He was able to find a Dodge Durango Pursuit package that is on the lot and would in theory be available. So part of that conversation would be if you guys so move to move quickly on that, there is one available. Secondarily to this conversation, the city has received the grant funding finally from rural development for police cars that we also applied for about this time last year that took forever to get. Originally we were talking 2 vehicles to replace the 2015s. You guys moved forward with 1. That vehicle took about 10 months for it to come available to us. I think it was about 10 months.
Yeah, we didn't get it until July.
So, all that being said, we do have funding that I think we can soften the cost by about $25,000 because we got $50,000 for 2 vehicles. It would be our intent to spend $25,000 on the one we just put in service and $25,000 on the one that we need to buy to replace the one without a transmission. So I would entertain conversation and debate on the importance of keeping our dog in service and its handler. And
so I guess my first question is though with Enterprise, the advantage of going with Enterprise was that they were going to be evaluating our fleets and telling us when would be advantageous to us to trade or sell those vehicles, when to buy new vehicles, that type of thing. And that's been over the 6 or 8 months ago that we initiated that conversation with them. And you're telling them, we're coming to them now and saying, hey, we need a vehicle, and they don't have a vehicle.
I completely agree that I've got them coming back in November 1st. The car broke after I scheduled them to come in. The reason for them coming back in was to be introduced to Mark and Eric and sit down with Brad and Tyler from Union City, Ohio to discuss the benefits, the pros and cons of using Enterprise to manage our fleet. Mark found out the same thing from talking to Jones. There are no police vehicles anywhere. They're not available. And and I hate this excuse, and I don't believe it, but every single dealership tells you that it's a COVID problem and they can't get chips and they can't make the vehicles fast enough. We can't even get a quote. One of the holdups that we had with the rural development grant was I could not get a quote on a police vehicle unless the dealership that was working on giving me the quote had the ability to place an order for one. And their ability to place orders for new vehicles has been shrunk down to practically zero. So there's only a small, minute, limited amount of vehicles that a dealership's even allowed to order. My dad just ordered a new Ford truck and it took him 9 months to be able to place the order. So it's, I hate saying it's because of COVID, but there's a glitch in the process, and it is what it is.
So if we went out on the open market and found the vehicle, why isn't Enterprise able to do that same thing? I guess I'm not understanding. Do they just have a limited vehicle pool that they can pull from? Or
I think they can. I think it's the amount of yelling and screaming that you do to get them to do it. So the next thing I'm going to talk about is a proposal to look at starting to upgrade our dump truck fleet.
Yeah, okay.
And I had this conversation with Enterprise in July about getting a quote to Brad and working with Brad on getting a spec built for a dump truck. They came in, they met with Brad, they did all that work, they did the legwork, they wrote the spec. They couldn't give me a quote on a truck because Brad asked for a Ford truck, and nobody had the ability to order a Ford truck. So we went from July to just now to get a price on a dump truck.
So I guess I have one more question. So this vehicle that we're talking about purchasing, and there's supposed to be collaboration between Ohio and Indiana. Who's purchasing this vehicle? Is it a shared vehicle that's going to share in cost, or
right now it would be a purchase by Union City, Indiana. Down the road, I think collaboratively, yes, we could look at sharing some cost on some vehicles, but right now we're not in a situation where we're prepared or we're ready to actually start sharing vehicle expenses.
but we would be sharing vehicle usage, though, right?
Theoretically, I think you were talking about potentially putting our officer in your reserve. He's in it now. So right now, our officer and our K-9 is working out of a UCO car currently to keep that resource.
The Crown Vic.
Old Faithful.
Mentioned.
Old Faithful. So, we're doing everything we can to keep him on the street and in service, but, there's responsibilities that come with having K-9s, and we gotta keep them safe, so.
I think we're not intertwining cars at all, but, well, minus the Crown Vic because of the K-9.
Yeah.
But like the Ohio guys are operating an all Ohio fleet, the Indiana guys are all operating an Indiana fleet.
Somewhere down the road, that could be a possibility, but it's just not, we're not there yet.
Okay.
So how's the cost on you have, I assume you have a firm quote on that?
46,860.
Excuse me?
Sorry, 46,865.
And that's just the vehicle, that's
Yeah.
not the upfit.
How's that compare to the
It's
one
about
we
the
just-
same ballpark.
Okay.
See, we bought Durangos on the Ohio side in 2021, I think, and they were like 44. So,
Yeah, so that's-
I was surprised.
That's not bad, yeah.
Yeah, and we got it from the same. He orders like
That's
400 cars at a time,
yeah.
and then just sits on them. They closed the state bid in Ohio and the state bids in Indiana. They're not even taking anymore.
So this is probably a car that somebody backed off of or something.
That would be my guess, and
Yeah.
that's why it's still sitting there.
That's why it's, because usually those are.
I think he's got a few Durangos, he's got a few of
I mean,
every.
You have some dealers that specialize in that, but they don't always, they usually don't have a lot of extra cars around like in today's environment. Next, the other question is, then what would be the plan for moving the canine, what car would the canine move to? You gotta move it out of
My preference, we put him in the new car because that's, I think that's what it deserves. Historically, we've always given them the worst car in the fleet. The new cage or kennel technology, I think, doesn't require the car to be completely dismantled and things like that. So I think that's a benefit. I don't think we have to do all the aftermarket stuff with the door releases and all those things that we've been doing to the 2015s and previous vehicles. Mark rolls around with his canine in the back of a Tahoe in a kennel box and does just fine. I think it's beneficial to keep transport capabilities in place for people that we need to arrest and take to jail. I think all those things are positive. Now, are we going to do something similar to that with an older car? Maybe, but I think we pay a lot of money to maintain and to train and to manage a canine, and I think the human side of that equation deserves a new car occasionally, and I think the canine definitely deserves to be in a good, safe vehicle.
Yeah, I was just looking at it from the stance of whether it was more practical to move equipment from the 15 to the 18 that's essentially going to be the same, or whether
it's not the same. That's the problem. If we went to the similar kennel setup in whatever we decide to do, it's all got to be brand new. Nothing from the 15 to 18 is interchangeable.
We tried to evaluate it. What we did in the past with the Crown Vic from like 1997 until they quit making them, it was always the same.
Yeah.
Right.
And now the Fords are like 2015 to 2017. Okay, 2018 to 2020, those fit. But what keeps happening now is, because it's not the Crown Vic, is not only are we going to have to replace cars, we're going to have to replace all the internals of it.
I didn't know.
Versus give them a new car.
Significant difference.
And it's going to last
between the
longer.
18. I
That's
knew
what
there
we're
was
hoping. And then
some difference, but it was
we ran into the same thing with the Explorers.
yeah.
And then we were not only replacing cars, but we were replacing all the insides.
The exterior looks similar, but as far as bolt placement and
I think they do it
dimensions on the
purposely.
inside, completely different.
So that
So you're running with a kennel system where you're not using, or you're not capitalizing your back seat then necessarily. You're using
Our Crown Vic, it's full kennel.
right. Yeah.
Mine, the kennel's in the back, all the way in the
Okay.
back. And then our other Tahoe that we have another canine in is actually a 2/3, 1/3. So it's 2/3 dog cage, and at least gives you a seat.
At least give you a seat.
Not a comfortable seat, but it gives a seat to transport.
Yeah, but I think that being able to have a transport seat really ought to be done.
So, do you guys want to make a motion?
And Amy, you did. I saw your email, but Laura basically said we just need to give them invoices for the vehicles, and we can start drawing that money down.
When the vehicle's ordered,
Correct.
they want an invoice and they don't want anything before invoices.
Well, so the nature of the grant was that amount of money for 2 vehicles. So I'm just playing a little devil's advocate on this. What if we only purchased one vehicle? Where
We would get 25 grand.
right.
But with what I'm going to also be talking about on the horizon, we could theoretically use that for Rob's purchase also. Or the dump truck or whatever, but technically the grant was specifically written for police vehicles. If we can't do it for the one we just took delivery of and put in service, then we would have to pivot a little bit. But
As long as we could use, as long as I'm okay with going forward with the new vehicle, as long as we're able to use that for the vehicle that we've already purchased, and that be our two vehicles.
because I feel like that's our real priority at this point.
Okay.
That's,
Yeah, I guess my thing is we don't want to lose out on the second 25,000 if we don't have a vehicle
Well,
purchased. I mean, we're leaving money on the table if we don't. Is that what your point is, or am I missing
well,
your
I don't
point?
want to leave the money on the table, but I also think that we're in a position where we need to, the only other real choice we have at this point is seek another used car.
Yeah.
Is there a possibility we can't use it for the existing one that we just took delivery?
I don't
That's-
think there is. I
that's
think
what
we
he
just
was
have
saying.
to create and submit the paperwork for the vehicle
We
that we've
started
already
this
got
process
together a year ago.
Yeah.
so they should take that new, the one that we're in right now,
Yeah.
should be one.
That'd be
And
my
I-
motion, as long as we're able to do that using the car.
I would have every
previously
belief
purchased.
that would be possible, and we would have the invoice information and so on and so forth to do so.
And I think we really need to evaluate how effective Enterprise is going to be in our process of evaluating our fleet and whether they really are going to be beneficial to us.
And I don't disagree at all.
Tim, is that a motion?
That's, yes, and like I said, I don't know if that's a little too complicated, but based on the use of the grant for both car, or for the car that we've just received and the car that we're potentially purchasing.
So just to be clear, are we good to call John Jones Chevrolet or Dodge or whatever it is and reserve that car?
Well, if you're confident that, if you feel strongly that we can pull this off with the grant,
I have
certainly, yeah.
Okay, well, we'll reserve the car. I have a 10 o'clock Zoom call with Rural Development on Thursday, so that'll be part of our conversation.
Yeah.
I'll second. Bob second. Should do a roll call vote.
All right, Brandon Elmore, sorry.
Yes.
Bob Leahy.
Yes.
Jason Brewer.
Yes.
Tim Heiss.
Yes.
Tito Pereira.
Yes.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I'm not done.
I didn't think you were.
So, you also have a quote from Enterprise for 2 proposed dump trucks. A Ram 550 and a Ford F600. These would be considered like a medium duty dump truck. It would come with the dump bed and a new 10-foot snowplow. It would be replacing a 2004. Tim, you remember, is that the GMC? I think
Yeah,
it's
that's the GMC 5500.
Yeah, so it would be replacing a similar size and similar capability truck. The truck that we're replacing, the 04, we are having to put dollar after dollar after dollar in it every time it's used. So it's really starting to nickel dime us bad. Our dump truck fleet, even though they're very well maintained and they look nice, they're getting some age. They're 1998s, they're 2000s, they're 2004s. They're really up there. So we don't have this completely vetted out in the budget, but I want you guys to know and understand that we really need to start replacing some of this equipment, because if the snow's 6 foot deep and we got to move it, we got to have trucks that are serviceable and able to move it. So I don't want to be stuck in a situation where the truck won't run or we've got a mechanical failure when we really need it. So once you kind of take a look at that, Brad and I is going to be working with Amy to figure out in detail the budget a little bit closer. The reason that this conversation came back up after about 4 or 5 months was because this Ram 5500 appeared on a lot, and it would be in theory ready to go or be upfitted with the bed and the plow. The Ford, because I requested a quote on the Ford, they were able to send me a quote on it. It's about $3,000 more, but they're identifying that it's going to be upwards of 6 to 8 months on delivery. So again, this is more for just your information than really a decision tonight, but I would strongly encourage us to start looking at managing this fleet also, because we don't need them to start failing. And then Rob with the wastewater department, we've talked about it about a half a dozen times since I've been in this chair. We've never replaced the service truck at the wastewater treatment plant, and it too is nickel-diming the operation horribly. And now the body is starting to show visible signs of just literally falling off the chassis rail. So what they're proposing is that they move Brad's truck to the service truck at the wastewater plant, move Rob's truck to Brad, and Rob purchased through wastewater a truck similar to like a Ford
Says Escape, but
the Ford Escape, the small SUV type. He's going to be doing a little bit more traveling. He's going to have responsibilities as this collaboration moves forward in Union City, Ohio. So he's thinking more fuel economy, probably some type of a hybrid vehicle. It's going to be a cheaper expense for the wastewater plant to manage. I think it makes sense for what he actually does. He doesn't have to carry a lot of tools or anything like that. He does more GIS mapping and things like that out of his vehicle than he does actual sewer work. So that is also something we'll be addressing with Enterprise on the 1st of November, and we'll be hopefully putting a quote together for something like that as well. I just kind of wanted to give you guys a heads up that that vehicle's needed replaced for a couple years now, and we've never done it. We've never made a decision, but they've decided what they think is the best path forward. And unless I forgot something or you guys have more questions, I think that's it.
Okay.
Good right now.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And I found out Josiah's got a job, so I think that's his schedule's been in flux. So, so we don't have him here this evening. Our old business is Ordinance 2023-16, which is the elected official salary ordinance on the second reading. It had no changes since the approval on the first reading. If there's no questions or comments, which again, there's no pay change at all to council or mayor position, I would entertain a motion for approval.
I'll move we approve ordinance 2023-16 elected official salary ordinance, second reading by title only.
We have a first, we have a second.
I'll second.
Amy, if you would, roll call vote. Jason, second.
Brandon Elmore,
Yes.
Bob Leahy.
Yes.
Jason Brewer.
Yes.
Tim Heiss.
Yes.
Tito Frears.
Yes.
The facade grant for stepping. I need to make a clarification for you guys. Amy pointed this out for me. That the receipts, the total is actually $5,091.29. They actually saved on the work that they had done. And the building's looking great. They've got paint work, got old windows taken care of, and then got new canopy up. And so, so the $5,091.29. That's the actual figure that they're asking for the match for the facade grant. And yes, the work's been completed.
What was the figure again, Chad? I'm sorry. 5,000?
No problem. 5091
Okay.
our original budget for, that puts us just slightly over our original budget for facade grant for the year, is that correct?
For 2023, we're going to be over a little bit, but last year we were under considerably.
Yeah. Let's say, but it's not.
So this would be the last one for
So
this.
basically, this is gonna,
Yeah, this would be the last one for this year.
And I have, just so you guys know, I've had 2 additional requests last week, and I've told them that we're out of money for this year. So.
If there's no questions, I would entertain a motion.
I'm just gonna say that I'm gonna, not, I won't be voting on this because I'm on the board.
Okay, all right, I appreciate that.
I'll move that we approve the facade grant for Stepping Incorporated for the amount of $5,091.29.
Do we have a first, do we have a second?
I'll second.
I think it was Brandon.
Brandon.
Jan, if you would, or Jan, sorry, Amy, if you would, roll call vote. Sorry, Lord, I made the whole meeting.
Brandon Elmore,
Yes.
Bob Leahy.
Yes.
Jason Brewer,
Yes.
Tim Height,
Yes.
He's abstaining.
Abstain.
All right, do we have any visitors wishing to address the council? If not, our next council meeting will be Monday, November 13th at 6 p.m. The date of the Board of Public Works meeting will be Monday, November 13th at 9:30
Yes.
a.m.
Same.
So, Board of Public Works, 9:30 a.m. And with that, I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
We have a first, we have a second.
I'll second.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.